Recording in progress. Kyle, what's happening, mate?
Very good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I was going to pretend that we've just started speaking.
Yes,
Ignore
mate.
the last 10 minutes.
Let's do it, mate. Yeah, that robotic way that we just came on, didn't say a word to each other, press record, and
So I don't even know how to start. Welcome, I guess, to our first ever podcast together.
I know we've still got the group name as Unnamed Podcast, but we have actually come up with a name. Do you want to christen it, mate? What's the name? What are we going with?
I think the name for now, we're going with Fit With Us. So welcome to Fit With Us with Gary McDonald and
Kyle Watson.
get in there. Are we going to label our own brands? Or are we keeping this completely neutral?
Mate, I completely just didn't hear what you said there. I mean, that's not a great start to our podcast. What did you say?
Is this thing on? Are we going to label our own brands, or are we just going to keep it completely neutral?
Oh, mate, there's no issue putting your own brand. Mate, I'm literally wearing the BioFitness t-shirt here, so yeah, I was going to say I'm representing. Fuck it. Yeah, mate, I was going to say I work for BioFitness, mate. I made BioFitness. I work for myself, but yeah, I'm Kyle from BioFitness, and you can do your part, mate.
Well, I'm Gary from GMAC Health and Fitness. That is a work in progress, that name.
A work in progress, mate. It's all a work in progress. I think even the purpose of like this podcast, mate, it was like we're talking about what we want it to be, and we're like essentially people learning from our mistakes. Like we fucked up, so you didn't have to. But I mean, when you say that, it's not exactly the most sexy name for a podcast. We fucked up. So imagine searching for that, mate. You'd be spending 20 minutes just looking for it.
We fucked up, so you don't. I don't know, man. It's quite catchy. A couple of buzzwords in there.
I don't know, mate. Work in progress, mate. We should probably just call the podcast "Work in Progress."
Work in progress. Unnamed podcast. Work in progress.
So here, mate. Let's address the elephant in the room to start off with, mate. You are just in Ibiza and you've come back with a bacterial infection that you decided to put on Instagram. You want to talk a wee bit about that?
My ear got blocked like I think this third last day. Obviously being in the pool, being in the sea, just an accumulation of about 15 years at earwax as well. And I essentially went completely deaf in one ear.
Yes.
And it was an absolute nightmare. I went to the pharmacy, got this little spray that they said was going to dissolve the earwax, and it essentially just made it worse. So yeah, I've been cutting about for a week with one ear working. So I phoned up my GP a couple of days ago. You can't get an appointment. We don't do ear syringing anymore. So they forwarded me a number to the health centre and called them up. First appointment's 28th of November. And I was like, fuck this. I am not going a month and a half partially deaf. So I just went private, mate. And I went yesterday and got them drained. I was in for like half an hour and she was using all these different bits of equipment. And I swear to God, mate, I genuinely can hear a mouse fart. That is how clear my ears are now. It is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. See if you find yourself like turning the volume up on your TV and stuff. Go in and get your ears drained. It is the most satisfying thing I have ever experienced. It was fantastic. So now, yeah, I'm hearing loud and clear. You probably don't even need to come over Zoom. I could hear you for Ireland.
Yes. You're probably the wrong person to have asked, can you hear me loud and clear when I'm testing the mic? So for perspective on this, I've got this big fancy fucking mic. You can see it's not plugged in at the moment because it doesn't work. My internet's not worked this morning and I've also had the shits. How's your Friday?
Oh, my Friday has been absolutely fantastic, mate. I have laid on the couch all morning.
Yeah,
completely polar opposite to your experiences.
Just listen to sounds, mate. Just
listening to everything. I can hear people on Locomotive in the street.
You can hear people in Ireland, apparently. Cool. Well, look, we do have a topic for today. Well, I was going to say consult the notes. I don't even remember the topic.
Right, the topic is 5 things I wish I knew before starting the gym / training. So yeah, we're just going to kind of take a wee dive into things that we wish we knew before obviously we started training. And me and Kyle have been lifting training for a number of years. When did you actually start in the gym?
Mate, that's a question. I started when I realised I wanted to be Batman, mate. I started with like 5 kilos. Well, I didn't even start with 5 kilos, mate. I had the old York set in the house where I had the ones, the threes, and the fives. And the day that I upgraded to the fives, mate, I was lifting the same weight as my dad. And I don't know if that makes my dad super weak or me super strong at the age of 12, mate, but I'll let you decide. But that's when I started. And then I was lying about my age from the age of 12, mate, because you had to be 13 to join the local council gym, Scotstoun Leisure Centre, big shout out. But went in there and, yeah, mate, I pretty much was just reading Arnold Schwarzenegger's book to Modern Encyclopedia. I've butchered that, but anyway, you need biceps to lift that fucking book, mate. It's like, so yeah, I'm going to try and keep that short. That's how long I've been lifting, mate. It's a long fucking time. What about you?
Well, almost 20 years almost.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm like, again, you'll probably realise this in time, mate. I can't count. So when you talked about 5 things today, I don't know if I've got 5, 10, or 15, mate. I use my fingers as best as I can. I've got some points wrote down. How long have you been lifting?
We'll cap it at 5, right? We'll cap it at 5.
You give me a shout.
For me, like, mine's is I've been going to the gym since I was about 13, because that's, like you say, that's when you could have signed up to the old Glasgow Club membership. But actually lifting, properly doing weight training, it's only been about 10 years. In my early 20s is when I started taking an interest in it. But I since the age of 13 to kind of 21, 22, I was going into the gym, doing 10 reps on a machine and then moving on to the next fucking machine. Had no idea what I was doing, no idea what I was, no plan, wasn't interested in nutrition. I was going on the cross trainer for an hour, seeing that I was burning 700 calories and then going out and going, oh, I can easily have a pizza.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, hopefully some of the points that we cover today kind of help folk that are in that position that I was in 15, 20 years ago.
100%. I think I was speaking to another PT about this the other day. See, the biggest thing about that is, like, I can go back, like, I don't live in Glasgow anymore, I live in Ireland, as you've touched on, but like when I go back to the same gyms that I used to work in Glasgow like 10, 15 years ago, like I still see the same people doing the same stuff, but they're just in worse shape than what they were. And it's like, you got to a point where obviously you didn't know what you're doing. You're kind of doing a set of each thing. You were burning 700 calories and eating it back. But like, you've obviously got to a point where like you don't do that anymore. So how the purpose of the chat today is, how do we get from the point where you're 700 calories down and then eating a kebab that's 1,000 or a pizza, whatever it be, maybe, to the point where you can actually utilise it as a weapon, that you can use it to get you to where you want to be. So go on, mate, you get in there. No loop. Point number 1. What is fact number 1 in Gary's side of things?
Point number 1. Now, these points aren't in any specific order. I've just got five things that I wish I knew. Like I say, no specific order of importance or whatever. So my first point is, don't let others influence your training and nutrition easily. So basically what I mean by that is, don't get caught up in the whole, oh, how much can you bench bullshit, or the only way you're going to get jacked is if you eat chicken, broccoli and rice, because you're always going to have people that's going to try and influence every single part of your journey. Could be friends, family, could be meatheads at the gym, other members at the gym, but usually they are going to be giving you their uneducated advice that they've done absolutely zero research on. Chances are they've probably watched a YouTube video, a TikTok video, they've read something on Instagram, they've seen a reel, and they're going to tell you stuff that they feel like's worked for them, but they have absolutely no idea about you, your lifestyle, what you like, what you enjoy. And they're going to try and pass this information on to you and be like, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. I had it all the time back in the day when I started lifting. I had the fattest guy in the gym trying to tell me how to do a bicep curl, and I'm like, well, it's no work for you, has it?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So you're always going to have these people that are trying to almost control what you're doing to a certain extent. But is there anything that you want to kind of touch on with that point?
No, mate, I think 100%. And like, even my early PT career, I mean, I'd be guilty of trying to tell people to train the same way I did, because I didn't really know any different from that as well. So yeah, like, when I was doing circuit training, mate, all my clients were doing circuit training. When I was doing powerlifting, all my clients were doing powerlifting. And a lot of the time you can get biased towards things that you like, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not relevant to what somebody else does. Like one of the things like working like for higher standards, you ever work for anybody else, is like you always need to justify why you're doing something. Unless I can justify putting something in somebody's program, it doesn't go in. But what works for you might not work for like Susan, who's just came off the couch and never exercised in her life. Like she's super sensitive to exercise. Should she really be putting a heavy barbell on her back? Probably not. But you know what? Her next door neighbour Linda's probably like, oh, here, Susan, all you need to do is put a barbell on your back and you can eat whatever you want. And it's like, it's one of the most unregulated, not just industries, but health and fitness. I think we've been battered through the 90s where it was all the restrictive diets and like skinnies and everything, and then all of a sudden it was a rebound and it's like strong not skinny, and then it's like if it fits your macros, and then we've just been through all these phases where like you get to a point where it's like things need to be relative to a person rather than you copying. Like that's actually my point number 4. Don't be tempted to copy the person in the gym who looks in the best shape. It's like just because it works for them doesn't mean it works for you. And again, I go back to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Modern Encyclopedia to Bodybuilding. I got it right that time.
Yes.
He was telling me, I'll tell you the most simple of things. He was telling me I could train my calves and they would grow, mate. I still have wee pipe cleaners for calves. I trained them twice a day, every day. 10 sets of 10, and all I felt was the burn. There was nothing else I got on top of that. But it was when you're young, or even when, like by young I don't mean by age, when you're young in terms of like training age, when you're young to the gym, when you're there, like you're so susceptible to just wanting such a change that you'll dive into whatever you think. And again, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger and I'm going, well, that guy's got massive calves, of course he's going to know the way. But it's only over time when you realise that he's full of gear and also full of shite. Well, no offence, Arnold, I still love you, but it's still an absolute unit. But with that, like clearly the schedule that he's had with the stuff that he's taken isn't going to work for me, even if I follow his diet to the point, and even if I like follow the environment he's put himself in, it's not going to translate to me because I've not got the same, again, genetics are a whole different thing, but I've not got the same genetics, I've not got the same structure, I've not got the same hormone pool, it's just not relevant. So you've done 2 birds, 1 stone there with the questions, the points, mate, you've absolutely fired it. Are we happy enough to move on from that? You want to add anything else to that? Do you want me
Absolutely, not. Because there's so many more other things to cover in the other points. But how do you want to do this? Do you want me to do my 5 and then you do your 5, or do you want to do one at a time?
No, I mean, do one at a time. I'm good like that, right? So you've done point number 1. I've done one of my points. I'll go into point number 2. So point number 2 is program hopping is a surefire way to kill your momentum. Yes. So one of the biggest mistakes I made was not only was I choosing the things that I thought would work for me. I used to read Men's Health, Men's Fitness, Muscle and Fitness, Flex magazine. And every week they'd have the program that will change your life, 6-pack abs in 6 weeks. And again, the only reason that I think and you're in the position you are is because you've made these mistakes. It's not like you're immune to it. You can just sieve through that bullshit. You need to go for it. You need to follow it through for long enough to understand it probably doesn't work. So how you actually make progress in the gym is you need to get good at a movement pattern and essentially progress over time. You're never going to be able to get good at something if you don't stick to it for long enough, and then you're never going to be able to get strong at it unless you load it consistently over time. So if one week you're deciding you want to give a squat a go, and then the next week you're deciding that you're going to do bench press for the rest of your life, and well, actually if you do bench press for the rest of your life, you'll be all right, just small legs, Johnny Bravo, different point. But you want to ideally stick to exercises and a structure that you can repeat over time, and you do get a cumulative like benefit from doing that. I think I nailed everything I want to say there. I'm not sure if I've had enough caffeine or too much caffeine, but I'll let you you want to add to that?
No, you pretty much covered everything as well. Program hopping is something that I am extremely guilty of doing. When I started lifting, to be fair, it wasn't really program hopping as such. It was more so I was going into the gym and having absolutely no structure whatsoever. And I was going in and I was going, can I feel like doing chest today? I kind of feel like doing back today. Or I was watching, did you ever see 6-pack shortcuts on YouTube?
I have, mate.
The Asian guy or something like that. I can't remember his name. It was quite jacked. It was in good shape. But I remember watching him and being like, oh, right, I'm going to do this workout today. And then the next time it would be quickly on YouTube, right, what workout can I do today? There was just no structure to it whatsoever. I was not progressing. And then I was like, maybe I'm not working hard enough. Maybe the gym's not for me. I was blaming myself when in reality it was just because I didn't have any sort of structure. I didn't stick to one program and then kind of advance it from there. But that's pretty much my take on that. So definitely stick to a program, find something and stick to it for at least 6 weeks. If it's not working, then change it. Even 4 weeks. 4 weeks, yes. If you're a complete beginner, you can, if you're a complete beginner, 4 weeks should be enough time for you to know if a program is working for you or not.
Class. I'm here for that. Yeah, we'll move on.
Here for that.
You go for your next point.
Number two for me, lifting with better technique is going to do way more for you, than lifting heavy with shite technique. Learning to lift properly and efficiently should be your priority over lifting heavy. Just because your mates are having a dick swinging contest about who can quarter rep the most weight on a bench doesn't mean you have to get involved in that as well. Learn to lift properly with proper form, use a full range of motion. Doesn't matter how light the weight is, as long as you're lifting efficiently, you will then see better progress than your mate who thinks quarter repping 100 kilo on a bench is a new 1 rep max. Well, I hate to tell you, mate, it's fucking not. So focus on lifting properly, full range of motion, and then you'll see way more progress than your wee fucking small pecker friend.
I think we need to take a moment for every little guy's soul you've just crushed there. I think that's went in no hold.
I could feel myself getting fucking wound up there.
You've got to say, mate, you want a wee minute there? You alright?
I'm gonna let you take over while I let.
Remember your breathing techniques, mate. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And to be fair, I felt that a wee bit because I was as guilty as MD of doing this. And at times I can feel the ego still. Like there's a lot of time if you follow me, that like I'll have to come away from doing certain lifts. Like I'm so emotionally attached to a number in a deadlift, and even though I know I am, the moment I start to creep over like 200 kilos, I'm like, doesn't fucking matter how this looks. I can see myself naming lights, mate. I'm like 300, I'm coming for you, and it's not the most beneficial way of doing things. 100%. Like I learned this the hard way, where like you're with most exercising, the great thing about things nowadays is you can get machines and you can you don't need to, again, barbell on your back squatting, you don't actually need to do that. You can go to a leg press. It's still a knee flexion, hip flexion exercise that you can load strength through without having to do a squat. Whereas like a squat is an expression of strength and it's good. It does have translations into performance. But if your first rep looks decent and then by the third or fourth rep all of a sudden you look like Alibaba's bucking camel, it's probably not the same muscles that are doing the work. You're transferred that on to muscles you probably don't want to work. You're starting to ingrain really poor movement patterns, and it's actually your tendons and structures that take the load. So I always say this with deadlifting, a lot of people have this kind of, because it doesn't get enough respect, where a deadlift can be one of the most beneficial movements you can do. You're lifting it from the floor. It doesn't matter if it's a trap bar deadlift, doesn't matter if it's a barbell deadlift, doesn't matter if it's a remaining deadlift. With that said, you need, in my opinion, it's good to learn that movement because it's so transferable to things. But so many people fuck themselves up because they feel that they need to be lifting a certain amount or they're not doing it properly. And the way I always say it is there's a difference between driving a car and crashing a car. If you drive a car well, it can get you from A to B really quickly. But if you don't know how to drive a car, you're going to fucking crash, and all of a sudden you'll never want to do it again. And that's where a lot of people end up. It might not be crashed on the first time, but if you're finding that you're constantly sore, and not in a good way, because and another argument, I think that people can get sore in their muscles and they're like, oh, my back's sore. I'm like, well, listen, if you've done 10 sets of 10 bicep curls, your biceps are going to be sore. Your back to an extent is a muscle. It needs to be broken down. It needs to recover. It takes longer to recover. So there's a differentiation between you loading your back. People with the strongest backs are the ones who load them and know how to load them well. But learning how to do that properly is a fucking skill, and it needs to be given appreciation. Just because you are seeing people on Instagram or they're also guilty at times in the past of my training pretty much always used to just look like that. I'd always put those movements up and they were the most complex, which could probably start to give that people the impression that that's what they had to do, whereas I very rarely actually put those movements up anymore, because I'm like, most people can get, everybody can get in shape without having to do a heavy deadlift. It's just a case of like your form infinitely is going to be more beneficial than how much load that you put in it. And this is where you should always top tip. There we are. If I can take a wee moment, you get something on the screen where top tips. Like top tip is record yourself. Fucking record yourself. So here's the thing I would do. You don't need a Batman shaker or other bottles that are available. But if you literally get a bottle and your phone and literally put your phone against the bottle, stick it down in a corner somewhere, put it on record. I even do it like back facing recording that way. And like nobody knows you're recording, because I can understand that in a busy commercial gym, if you're literally sitting or getting somebody to record you, you can look a bit like, for a better word, a gimp. But like, it can feel like that, even though nobody's really watching or caring. But film it, because you know, a lot of the time things feel harder than they actually look when you look at it back. Like you look at it back, all of a sudden, like something resistance training is made to feel hard. That's it. It's like, it literally, by its definition, you should have stress that forces your body to adapt. You recover, then adapt. But when something feels hard, you can think, oh fuck, that was an absolute disaster. When you actually look back at it, you go, you know what, that wasn't as bad. Or the opposite can happen. You're going, oh, that was flying. You look back at it, and all of a sudden you're like, Jesus, I looked like a dog taking a shit. So I hope I've given you enough time to calm down, mate. I tried to speak for a 3-minute monologue there just to allow your heart rate to go down.
I'm good, mate. I'm settled. Actually, like what you said and your wee kind of 3-minute monologue there actually kind of touches on my next point. So I think it would be good for me to get this next point done. Just continuing on for what you said, and we'll come back to you. Is that all right?
Go for it, mate.
Cool. Number 3, machines work just as good as free weights, sometimes even better. Now, for beginners, machines are absolutely perfect. Reason being, they come with instructions. They show you what muscles are supposed to hit, and they're already set up to move the way that you're supposed to move when performing that exercise. So you touched on the barbell squat. Not everybody wants to get under a bar. It is a very scary, daunting thing, especially for people that are just in the gym for the first time. Females as well, women in the gym, they get super scared of going into the big weights area because it's all fucking meatheads and guys making loud noises and guys standing with their wee shitey quads out in the mirror. And they don't want to get involved with that because it is intimidating. Doing a leg press, like you said, it is the same movement, and it can arguably be safer because you're not under this loose fucking unbalanced bar with X amount of weight on your back. You're sitting in a seat. The leg press can only move one way, and it's also got these wee bumpers. If you feel like you can't lift the weight, just let it go. Just drop the weight down on you. It's going to catch it on the bumpers, and then you can climb it. Whereas if you're under a bar and you go down and you kind of get back up, if you don't know how to bail, that is a very dangerous position to be in. So, yes, take advantage of the machines. I wish I did back in the day. I thought you had to jump about like a pansy and throw all these big weights about and deadlift like I was a fucking prawn. But I would take advantage of machines much more than what I did back in the day. Because you mentioned machines and stuff, I thought let's get that point in there as well. But is there anything that you want to say regarding that point?
No, mate, I don't really think so. Don't really think you explained that very well, mate. I don't think there's anything that I would touch on in that. And I'd also probably say that it's a chance you can get away with going to a higher level of fatigue with a machine without injuring yourself. Because, this actually bleeds into my next point. So do you know what? Fuck it, there we go. It's almost like we compared notes before this, mate. There we go. Right. Kinetic wave, we're on this. So the gym's probably not the best. One of the mistakes I made is I used to think that you could out-train, not a bad diet, but I could out-train things. And if I went to the gym 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, whatever it may be, I could eat whatever I want because I've earned it. The gym probably shouldn't be the biggest... The gym probably shouldn't be the best place to look at for all your fat loss efforts. Your fat loss should predominantly come down to how much you're moving outside of that and your nutrition in terms of what comes in. Because an hour, even if you spent 2 hours in the gym, it's piss in the pool compared to the rest of it. So on that, I would focus on the gym, on doing some form of resistance training, because ultimately, like, the thing that will shape your body composition is gaining more muscle mass over time. And instead of you becoming that smaller version of yourself, you become the best possible looking. You've got a better body composition when you have more muscle mass. So when it comes to that, there needs to be a certain amount of stress. Now, when you're a beginner, the fucking good news is you are so sensitive to exercise that you get these what's called newbie gains, where like you can, it doesn't really matter to a large extent what you do, your body will pack on muscle, and you pretty much can, as long as you have an exercise for pretty much whatever muscle group that you want to, then for the first 6 months to a year of you training, you can kind of get all these gains without having to be overly structured or overly like intelligent about your training. So the big thing to that is when it comes to machines, going back to that point, mate, I'm segueing between points. I'm enjoying this. I wasn't even meaning to, mate. It's like an off, mate. I can't even play tunes. But
I don't even know what point you're on. Are you on point 2 or 3?
I don't even have a point anymore, mate. I'm just patting myself on the back. just happy to be awake today, mate. Happy Friday. But yeah, no, mate, you distracted me. Stop doing that.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were segueing back to the
segue. No, wait. I was just saying, like with skill-based exercises, like you touched on, like a squat, whatever. There's a large element of concentration, and like over time when muscles fatigue, like if your quads start to fatigue quickly, then all of a sudden the bar path's going to come way out and you're going to just be hamstrings. Whereas like on a machine, like if you're doing a leg press, you can just stay in that range, but it means you could probably go to more reps and you can fix your position like in real time, as opposed to like at the bottom of a squat's probably not the best place to try and fix your position. So yeah, mate, that's all I would say on that. So the gym is probably not the best place to, if you're wanting fat loss, and it's still something that's very common. You hear people go, I'm going to the gym to lose fat. And as much as it's like, if you imagine fat loss like a cake, the gym is a cherry on top of the cake. It can be used to help expenditure, but it shouldn't be the sole place that you focus your expenditure.
I 100% completely agree with that. Just see it as a tool on your tool belt, on your fat loss tool belt. It's just a tool that's going to help your progress, but it's not the defining factor of your progress.
Yes.
Try to squeeze in some fancy words here so it makes us sound smart.
I like that, mate. I'm going to use my thesaurus later on. See what's happening. Good luck to put subtitles on this one.
I know. I think the AI is going to struggle for the subtitles as well.
It's not AI, it does. It's us, 100%. Let's take credit for this. We're not AI.
What was I going to say? I know I'm on point 4, right? I don't know what point you're on. I think you've done 3 points so far. I think we've just we've been segueing between each other that we've.
Can't count, mate. I don't know. I don't know where I am. I'm being held hostage. Go on.
What we'll do at the end then is we'll just like quickly summarise our 5 points each, if that's all right.
Oh, mate, you're asking me to go back. Like, I don't even know where I've gone. Way off script.
I'll summarise mine then, right? I'm the head professional here. Right, so it's me now.
Oh, you tell me you knew where you were. You've been clamped, mate. Talking shite. You're an imposter.
Right, point number 4, the basics work. It just takes time, consistency, and a whole lot of patience, Rocky. So stop looking for a quick fix or thinking you need to jump about the gym like a fucking pansy to get in shape. Stick to the basic movements and exercises and aim to progress on these. And this kind of touches on your point as well, program hopping. Stick to what works. Like, there's specific exercises that have been that bodybuilders way back in the 60s, 50s, 60s and 70s did, and they are still being used in the gym to this very day because they fucking work. See, if they didn't work, we wouldn't still be doing them to this day. But then you see, like, I like CrossFit, right? But I'm going to use this as an example. Every week they're coming up with a new fucking workout routine or a new exercise or some shit. Like, yes, it burns calories, but it's not going to be the most efficient for you to build muscle mass and make progress. You can't really track your progress on how many burpees you can do in a minute. Do you know what I mean? So stick to the basics, especially when you're beginning. Learn the basics, learn to do them well, and then aim to progress from there. I'm tripping over my words here. You'd think English wasn't my first language.
Is English your first language, mate?
I think so, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Sorry, on you go.
No, I was just going to say, mate, I agree. I think the two things that I would add to that is you want to learn how to measure progress, because ultimately, like, you want to find a way to measure what you're doing is working in the first place. So the things that I would typically look at in the gym environment is progressiveness. Like, this is actually my point, would be a pen and paper is literally cheat codes. So, like, just genuinely jotting down what you're doing, like, even if it's the first 2 to 3 exercises in each of your sessions, like, start with the hardest thing. So, for instance, like a leg press, a shoulder press, like a chest press, a row, whatever that may be. Start with the things that are multi-joint movements in the first part of the program, and then just literally write down how many sets and how many reps you're doing, and then every week just try and add like the smallest amount of weight to it. So it can either be the next weight up in terms of if it's a machine, or it can be like the 1.25 kilo like little plates that you can add the wee bags of sugar. If you can't find that you're able to add weight, try and add an extra rep, but monitor that as you go on, because you'll find that, like, every week you should be able to add that little bit, particularly if you're new to the gym. The first 2 years that you have in the gym, providing that you're not in poverty calories and you're not absolutely stressed out your nut, you should be able to add reasonably the smallest amount of weight each week or a rep each week. And over time, providing that that is working, there is an argument to say that you don't really need to change your program. Like, there is...
Yeah.
Progress pictures can help. You are going to be very emotionally bound to them, in the sense that, like, we have both used progress pictures at times, and at times you feel that you look class, and at times you feel like you like dog shit, and that doesn't necessarily reflect how you look in the pictures. But if we're to take the emotion out of it and look at them over time, you should be able to see a significant difference over the period of 8, 12, 16, 20 weeks. Make sure you are getting stronger over time. Record your stuff in the gym, both through a pen and paper, like, even form-wise. That's an element of progression. Record yourself on a phone. Yeah. Look back at it. Like, are you looking better after 8 weeks, 12 weeks? I'm not meaning your body composition. It'd be nice if that looks better, but more so even, like, if you are doing a leg press and at first it looks like you're doing a knee bend, and then at the end of 12 weeks you're getting good amount of hip flexion, knee flexion, and that's progress. You're getting more muscle mass. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that answered. 100%. Added to that, I've used one of my points, mate. I've only got one left, so I'll let you fire on with whatever direction you want to.
Let's see your last point.
Hold on, mate. Let me consult my notes. You've got right. So last one. Don't just stick to the exercises that you like. So, also very guilty of doing this myself. Even now, the reason that I don't program myself, and I still think that my programs, like, are the best programs. Like, there's barely anybody I've ever trained that doesn't like my programming. But with that said, if I program myself, I'll find that I'll be more inclined to, even if it's down in the program, skip the things that I don't like. I hate a bent over row, and I'm not a big fan of Romanian deadlifts. But if anything, it's because of my weak points, of the things that I probably should be getting better at. Hence the reason, like, I've got my own coach who programs things for me. I need to stay to a level accountable to them as well. So, if anything, there's a difference between an exercise that, like, is sore, is painful, and you've not got the skill level for. Yeah, maybe we need to look at how we incorporate that type of thing into and address the problems. But in terms of exercise you don't like, because, like, if you ask any women, they predominantly like training glutes. But the issue with that is, you'll see them quite regularly. If you only stick to doing glute exercises, you might end up with a massive arse, but other body parts will suffer, and you end up all of a sudden it'll be the same type of go, I can't squat anymore, I can't actually do a leg press anymore, it just hurts me too much. Like, not everybody should be leg pressing. Like, it's because you've overtrained your glutes, you've got a fat arse and you can't fucking bend your hips anymore. That's fine with you. It's the same with guys. You've got, like, if you ask most guys, who predominantly want to train arms, chest and shoulders. But again, you need to look around the gym at 5 o'clock in the evening time. You can probably spot about 80% of the population under the age of 22 that literally has overdeveloped chest, shoulders, and arms, but still have fat ankles and a punchable face. So don't stick to exercises that you like. Variety. Done. That's me. I need to come down. You go.
I completely agree with you. Most guys like to train mirror muscles, we'll call them.
Yes.
Arms, chest, wee bit of shoulders, sometimes the quads, and then they just completely leave out everything else, and then they end up with these massive imbalances that's, depending on how long they've been lifting for, can take years to correct. Same with females as well. I tend to find like my female clients from the past, they really enjoyed training legs more so than upper body. Now, there's nothing wrong with training legs 2-3 times a week, but you still need to balance it out, and you still need to make sure you're training your legs as a whole rather than just focusing on the glutes, for example, or the quads, for example. You still need to make sure you're hitting every single muscle group in that kind of the lower body or the upper body, and making sure that you're not getting these sort of imbalances. But if you stick to the basics and then take what Kyle said on board, you'll have absolutely nothing to worry about. Right, my final point, and then we'll get this wrapped up because I know you're a busy man. Oh no, actually, just another quick thing I wanted to touch on there about not programming for yourself. For those of you that don't know, Kyle, he is my friend, but he's also my coach as well. And I am the exact same as him too. If I was to program for myself, because people say to me, but you're a PT, why don't you just program for yourself? Because I can easily tell myself no. If I was to program for myself, I wouldn't program split squats. I wouldn't program remaining deadlifts, because I fucking hate doing them. Even though I know the benefit of them, I would still refuse to program them for myself. But the fact that Kyle's programmed them for me, it keeps me accountable. Given that I've got someone to answer to. And it makes me do them, because I feel guilty when I don't do them. I feel like I'm letting Kyle down rather than just myself down. And then it stops that imbalance from happening. It means I'm training everything as a whole. And I'm seeing like I'm getting more benefit out of it rather than just doing the exercises that I like. Because if I'd done the exercise that I like, I probably wouldn't be in the gym for very long.
Yes, and that's why you've got a wee peachy arse, mate, and you can still squat as well. Because it's balanced, mate. Yeah. You use 2 exercises to balance themselves out. You've got a wee remaining deadlift and a split squat. I'm like, nice, mate. It's almost like you planned that. That was nice. What we've learned is Gary just doesn't like training legs, mate. That's all I took from that.
The thing is, like, I would love to squat. I would squat all day, because I don't know, like, I've always had pretty decent quads. Same as calves. I've got super lucky with the calf gods, but yeah, the other exercises like hamstrings and stuff, like I just hate training hammies because it's sore and you feel it the next day, and I would rather just not do it. But yeah, the fact that I've got someone to answer to and is keeping me accountable, then I just fucking do it. And sometimes you're just going to have to do things you don't enjoy. If you want to see progress, you're going to have to do things. Push yourself out of your comfort zone and just fucking get it done. But anyway, enough of me rambling. On to my last point.
To ramble again.
Took a bit of a left turn there, didn't I?
I was going to say, Gary for president, end the podcast. See you later. See you next week.
Fifth and final point, and I think this is a very, very important one, especially for beginners. How much you sweat and how sore you are the next day or two are not good indicators on how good that workout was. Now, this is important because it can be very, very dangerous for people. I know a lot of people who, if they don't sweat in a gym session, they don't feel like they've worked hard enough. I know people, even clients, if they're not sore the next day, they don't think they've worked hard enough. So for people to go into the gym and actually work to a point where they're trying to hurt themselves can be very, very dangerous, and it can really fuck you up, and it can put you out of action for an extremely long time. Do you know people like that, Kyle? Have you met people like that? Have you got clients like that?
Don't. Like, it's just we're so programmed to have gratification straight away. So like when you exercise, like straight away, in terms of like if you're sweaty, if your heart rate's going, like I say the same about stretching. If you stretch, it feels good, but it's doing pretty much fuck all for you. Like if I was to give you a $5 today, you're going to be buzzing with life because you don't want the delayed gratification. But you know what happens? See, instead of giving you a $5 today, if I gave you 50 quid in a week's time, like that's essentially what you're doing with exercise. You're not getting a $5 each day, but you know what? If you hold off, you'll get 50 quid at the end of the week or whatever that is. So don't get too bogged down and try to get that like emotional response, that sensory response straight away. Like I do get to an extent, like got to be very careful about the way I say this. Like, when you're following a program, the most like successful programs are the ones you can stick to. So there does need to be an element of you can enjoy that, and I very much get the pleasure effect of doing something you feel you enjoy, and even if it is a case of bringing the heart rate up. There is some people I'll program things for just because they're banging on. Like, particularly people come from a CrossFit background or so conditioned for years to have a like HIIT classes into that, and they can't get out their head. You're trying to undo 15 years of conditioning of them thinking like you need to be hot and sweaty to get in shape. First of all, there's a reason you get at my door, because it's not fucking mucked in the first place. But you know what? Instead of literally going, we're just going to go wholesale with this, I'm like, right, cool. 80% of what we're doing is going to be logical and beneficial. There's maybe 20% of your program I'm going to put in a few things that are going to get your heart rate up. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just we're not basing your entire program around things that are going to get you sore the next day. Like, realistically, there are certain exercises that, like, if I was to ask you to do a bicep curl and to go really slow on the way down, like, your biceps are going to be in bits the next day, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's any more beneficial than you actually working at a heavier weight and controlling it, like, slow enough on the way down, but still fast on the way up. Like, there are ways to manipulate muscle soreness, but it doesn't necessarily mean, and actually very little of the time, does it mean that you're getting a good workout. If you played, again, I'm going through many examples here, but if you played 5-a-side tomorrow night and you hadn't played in 4 weeks, guess what? You're going to be sore. But you know what? That effect after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you can play 5-a-sides and all of a sudden you can no longer work for it. Week 2, all of a sudden you're still bouncing out of bed the next day forgetting you played 5-a-sides because your body becomes so adapted to it. So yes, don't rely on that as a barometer of success. It's important to know when you are sore, but it's not on the premise of progress, if that makes any sense. It doesn't hit me up. Yeah.
No, I understand what you mean, but any listeners that don't, give them a message. But no, like tracking your workout based on how it's sweaty. And a lot of people think, oh, if I'm not sweating, I'm not working hard. I could make myself sweat right now. I could do 20 burpees, a couple of high knees, or a couple of seconds of high knees, and I'll be sweaty. Like, my heart rate will be elevated. My body will be like, all right, fucking hell, we're getting it going here. It'll try to cool me down. I don't really sweat when I'm strength training. And a lot of people seem to think if that is the case, they're not working hard enough, they're not lifting heavy enough, they're not lifting enough reps. And like I say, it can lead to very dangerous situations when you're actually trying to push yourself too hard just to get a reaction out of your body in that moment. And then, if you're not sore the next couple of days after it, you're like, oh, obviously wasn't lifting heavy enough. And then you go into the gym the next time and then you fucking put 10 kilos on each side of it. And then you slip a disc or you pop a hernia or you just do something really ridiculous. And then you're out for 3, 4, 5, 6 months because you are basing your progress or you're judging your progress based on something that is fucking ridiculous at the end of the day. Take Kyle's advice by getting a pen and paper. Try to progress that way rather than how much you sweat and how sore you are the next couple of days afterwards. Because when you're new to lifting, you probably will be sore for a couple of days after it. Now, I barely get sore after a strength train. Every now and again, I'll get a wee set of drums. I deadlifted the other day for the first time in 6 months. Holy fuck, I feel like I'd been hit by a train for 3 days afterwards.
Yes.
But when I was training before that, before I stopped deadlifting, I wasn't getting sore from deadlifting because your body just adapts, your body gets used to it. I was feeding it with the nutritious food that it needed to recover quickly. I was getting adequate sleep. And it's just your body adapts. So stop judging everything, or don't judge everything based on how you feel and how much you sweat. But enough of that rant.
No, I just on that very last one, I'm going to get a wee bonus point in here before we wrap up. Just when you said that there about judging things on how you feel, like a lot of us, I hate that, like, oh, just go with how you feel. And I'm like, whilst that's relevant to a point, if you're in fucking agony and pain in terms of like, you probably shouldn't be doing something. But I think there was a post you sent to us the other day where it's like, if I listened to how I felt all the time, I'd constantly be hungry, sleepy, horny, like whatever it is. If I acted on those impulses all the time, I'd probably be like really fat and in jail. So it's not always the best thing to do is listen to how you feel. At times, like, we didn't get to this point in human history because we ate every fucking 2 to 5 hours and ate 7 meals a day. Like, we should be hungry. Like, we should, like, there are points where you should be hungry. There are points where you should be tired. There are points where you just need to get on with shit. There obviously is elements of controlling energy and what you put in your body and everything else, but listening to your body to a large extent, controversial opinion, but it's when you're so far away from where you want to be, your body's set point's absolutely fucked. Like, you go to a hot country, you get used to the hot weather. Like, if you get fat, you get used to standards of being fat. If you're out of shape, whatever. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say fat anymore in this politically correct world, but like, yeah.
It's your podcast, we can say what the fuck we want.
Yes. Well, if you are, how controversial can we go, mate? I was going to say, if you're feeling a bit
cancelled after episode 1.
yeah, mate, cancel culture. These two boys, we put our business name down. Like, we'll take them out, mate. But we'll just, but yeah, mate, if you're feeling a little more chunky and a little less funky, then there's a good chance that your standards need to be changed a wee bit, and it's going to take a wee bit of time to adapt to that. Our job is to make it as frictionless as possible. Hopefully you've taken a lot from today's podcast. We'll recap very briefly because Gary asked me to and I almost forgot. So give us the highlights on your side, mate. Yes. 5 points, so rapid fire.
Just a quick summary. So point number 1, don't let others influence your training and nutrition easily. Point number 2, lifting with better technique will do way more for you, than lifting heavy with shite technique. Oh my God, that was a mouthful. Point number 3, machines work just as good as free weights, sometimes even better. Point number 4, the basics work. And point number 5, how much you sweat and how sore you are the next day or two are not indicators on how good your workout was. Yes.
Developed dyslexia at a later point in life, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'm not got my reading glasses here, but number 1, probably not the best place to focus. Well, I've just wrote it to myself. I've not even explained this. The gym is probably not the best place to focus all your efforts when it comes to fat loss. Number 2, program hopping is a surefire way to kill any momentum. Number 3, a pen and paper is literally the cheat codes to success. Number 4, don't be tempted to copy the person in the gym who looks in the best shape. Number 5, don't just stick to the exercises you like.
Perfecto. And then just to make sure people have made it to the end of the episode, where can people find you on the socials?
BioFitness88. I tried to get BioFitness by itself, but there's a guy in Brazil with the same name who's not posted since 2017. So if anybody knows him, give him a wee nudge, right?
So BioFitness88 on Instagram, and me, it's gmac_health and fitness. So if you've listened, if you made it this far, follow us on Instagram.
Class. Love it. Well, we'll be releasing these on a weekly basis. We've committed to doing that. So this will be on a weekly basis. If you have enjoyed it, you've taken some value from it, please like, share, throw it out there, because you know what, the more people that listen to this, we're trying to obviously give value to help people. So yeah, the more people we can help, the better. So yeah, I'll leave that at that. Anything else you want to finish on there, Gary? Be happy enough?
I second that. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully you will join us for next week's.
Class. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening, guys. Speak to you later.
Cheers.